So we've got this fascinating discussion here about Dr. O's take on Putin's Valdai speech, which seems to have, sent some pretty questionable signals internationally.
Absolutely. It's like he's analyzing whether Russia's moves to restore its deterrent are actually emboldening NATO instead.
Exactly. It's like Dr. O really dives into the idea that Moscow's efforts to de escalate might be misinterpreted as weakness by the West, right?
Yeah, I get that. And when you mention de escalation, it almost sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? I mean, if Russia shows restraint, isn't that typically a good thing?
Well, yes, in a normal scenario. But here, Dr. O points out that the signals coming out of that speech might be playing into a narrative where the West, particularly NATO, thinks they can push
Interesting.
further.
So, what does Dr. O actually argue? Is it that Russia's mere act of de escalation is like a strategic error?
Right. He basically suggests that by trying to de escalate, Russia might inadvertently be, restoring a sort of old school deterrence posture, one that looks weak to Western eyes, thus potentially emboldening NATO, yeah?
That's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, de escalation is meant to lower tensions, but on the other, it could be interpreted as vulnerability.
Exactly. And that's the irony Dr. O is focusing on. It's like a strategic double edged sword, showing restraint but risking
That's a tricky
misinterpretation.
balance. And he's not alone on this, right? Other geopolitical analysts have picked up similar themes about perception versus reality in international relations.
Absolutely. And what's even more interesting is that his analysis ties directly to his new book, War Diaries. Volume 1, The Russia-Ukraine War, 2022-2023. It gives a wider context around these
Yeah, that's a
strategic
bold
moves.
move. That book seems to be getting a lot of buzz. How does it relate to the current discussion about deterrence and NATO?
Well, it's like his book chronicles the ongoing conflict and the decisions taken on both sides. But here, in the discussion, he zeroes in on this moment, where Putin's speech, ostensibly meant to ease tensions, might have actually provoked a reaction from NATO.
Right, right. So, if I understand correctly, Dr. O is implying that peace initiatives can sometimes be misread in international politics, right?
Exactly. It's like a case of mixed signals. You do something that could be seen as conciliatory, but because of historical baggage and strategic mistrust, it gets twisted into a sign of weakness.
It's a dangerous game. And this misinterpretation, let's say, potentially encourages NATO to push further in the region.
Yes, precisely. Dr. O argues that Russia's de escalation, while intended to reduce tensions, might inadvertently embolden NATO hardliners. It's almost like a self defeating prophecy.
But here's a part I'm a bit skeptical about. Could it be that Dr. O is overstating NATO's reaction?
That's a valid point. I mean, yes, there's a risk that restraint could be misinterpreted, but one might argue that NATO's response is based on its own strategic imperatives rather than a simple reaction to Russian behavior.
That's true. Exactly. It's like saying the system has its own momentum regardless of what Russia does.
Right, it's almost like a chicken and egg situation. Russia acts, and then NATO reacts, and then the cycle intensifies.
Yeah, I see that. And what about the timing? This all seems to tie into a broader narrative of shifting alliances and power balances in a multipolar world.
Yeah, and that's another key aspect here, the idea of a multipolar world. Dr. O hints that in this evolving landscape, any strategy, even one aimed at de escalation, can be misinterpreted depending on the broader power dynamics.
So it's not just about the message, but also the context, right? And that context seems to be a mix of historical suspicions, especially given past conflicts and the legacy of Cold War mentalities.
Precisely, it's like old biases resurface, no matter how much you try to modernize the approach. Dr. O's analysis shows how perceptions remain entrenched.
And it makes me wonder, if Russia were to change its messaging strategy altogether, could it avoid this pitfall?
Possibly, but that's where things get complicated. Changing messaging in international diplomacy is not as simple as flipping a switch. There's always a lag in trust and a lot of baggage to overcome.
That's so true. I mean, history has shown that public signals in international politics can be double-edged, right?
Absolutely. It's like giving a compliment that comes off as sarcasm. You might not get the intended reaction.
Right, that's a great analogy. But there's also the aspect of strategic deterrence. Russia wants to, assert a form of strength even if it's not militarily aggressive.
Exactly, and that's where the underlying tension lies. Dr. O suggests that Russia's approach to deterrence might not be translating well, since the West reads restraint the wrong way.
That's an interesting take. So, in your view, does this mean that Putin's speech was more of a miscommunication than a deliberate tactic?
Well, it's a bit of both, really. It might have been intended as a measured strategic move, but because of the inherent ambiguities in public diplomacy, it got misread entirely.
Yeah, definitely tricky. I get that. But don't you think there might be an argument that in modern warfare, ambiguous signals can sometimes be useful to keep adversaries guessing?
That's a reasonable perspective, but Dr. O seems to argue that in this case, the ambiguity is counterproductive. It doesn't deter, but rather it emboldens.
I see your point. So there's a risk reward trade off that's not working out as intended here.
Exactly. It's like trying to negotiate with someone who only hears what they want to hear, and the intended message just falls flat or is twisted.
Right, yep. Plus, there's the element of perception in international relations. It's not always what you say, it's how it's perceived.
Precisely, and that's why Dr. O is focusing so much on the potential misinterpretation. It's not just about the content of the speech, but its broader implications for future policy decisions.
Indeed. And looking at the broader media environment, like how this video by Glenn Deason is presented, it seems there's a lot of global attention on these shifts.
Definitely. The video context, with its links to other discussions on NATO, multipolarity, and even critiques of various international policies, underlines that these are not isolated issues.
Yep, very interconnected. It almost feels like every decision, every gesture has this ripple effect across global alliances and power structures.
Right, and the takeaway here is that in international diplomacy, your intentions can be, well, completely misaligned with how others perceive them. It's a continuous dance of interpretation.
A delicate dance indeed. In the end, what do you think this means for the future? Will Russia adjust its strategies, or is this ambiguity here to stay?
That's a million-dollar question, isn't it? It could go either way. Dr. O hints that unless there's a concerted effort to recalibrate these signals, the cycle of misinterpretation might just continue, ultimately inadvertently strengthening NATO's position.
Yeah, a tough call for sure.